Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, we will talk about disclaimers in Exchange Server. Disclaimers are custom messages which can be of HTML or plain text format and can be used to provide disclaimer or the disclosure statement on the email or any other information which you want to share to the user. Disclaimers can be added using the transport rules in Exchange Server. So let's go to Exchange Server. As you see, I have already logged into my ECP console. So let's go to Mail Flow, and in the Rules tab, click on plus and click on Create New Rule. So let's give this a name as Test Disclaimer and click on More option. And if you select Apply this rule, if the sender is from the inside organization, and in the condition, let's go to Apply Disclaimer. So in the Apply Disclaimer, there are two ways you can apply the disclaimers. The Append Disclaimer will add the disclaimer in the bottom of your email content. The Prepend Disclaimer will add the disclaimer at the top of the email body. Let's append the disclaimer here as a test. So I will say this is a test disclaimer and I'm only providing the plain text disclaimer here and click OK. So if the rule fails to process for the mail, then there are three options what we can do. We can wrap the email, or we can ignore that and continue with the email transfer, or we can reject the email. So I will select the ignore and click OK. This particular rule will be applied to all the emails which are sent from the inside users. So let's click on save and go back to one of our test mailbox here and click on new. Let's send this to the user Praveen and let's call this as test disclaimer and send this. As you saw, I have not added any body in the email. So let's go to our mailbox, which is Praveen Shivkumar. As you see, we have received the test disclaimer email here. And you can see the email has the appended disclaimer here. So this is how you can create the basic disclaimer on the Exchange server. So let's take this further and discuss based on some scenarios. So let's take a scenario wherein one of the user wants to send a confidential email and it has to be sent across to the different domain which is on the internet. We want to notify the recipient as the email contains confidential information and should be only used by the individual to whom it was sent. And also we may need to inform them saying that if you received this email by error, please notify the manager. Let's create that kind of disclaimer in our Exchange server. So let's go back to our ECP and let's delete this test disclaimer and create a new one. And let's call this as outgoing email. Let's say disclaimer for outgoing email. So let's apply this rule if the sender is located inside the organization. And let's also add one more condition. If the recipient is external, so this will only be applied to the external users. And then in the action or the do the following, we will apply the disclaimer and we will append this disclaimer to add this text in the bottom of our email content. Let's select this, enter the text, and provide this disclaimer text and click OK. As usual, we will select ignore and click OK. And I will leave all these options like this and click on save. So this should be applied to all the emails which are going outside. As my current environment does not have internet access, or my current Exchange server cannot connect to internet, I will be just removing this condition to test and show you how it looks. So this will be now applied to all the emails which are sent from internal users to internal users or the external users as well. So let's click save. However, if you want to keep this only for the external users, do not delete the previous condition and keep it as is. So for now, let's click on save and go back to our test user and click on new. Let's see all users and we will say disclaimer test 2 and let's hit send. The email has been received here and we have this disclaimer appended on our email content. So as you can see, this is a plain text disclaimer. So let's use the HTML format to beautify this. Let me just copy the HTML format which I already created and click OK. Let's click save. Let's go back again and create a new email. Let me just copy some of this text and put it on the body of this email so that we can see how it looks. Let's click on send now. So if we go back to our inbox, you can see at the bottom of the email and below the signature or below the regards, we can see this text which is sent with the bold font and within the border. So this is how we can append the disclaimer here. We can also change the font color and we can also change the background color of this using the HTML code. However, I will not do this for now. So let's go back to our rules and create a new rule which is disclaimer for incoming emails. And we will select the condition as sender is located outside the organization. So this will be only applied to the emails which are coming from external senders. And then we will select on more option and go to apply disclaimer. And we will prepend the disclaimer. So it should be coming in the top of the email and enter the text. This time I will copy the HTML text directly and click on OK and select ignore as a fallback action and click on save. So now we have another rule for any incoming email which is from external sender. As you know, this Exchange environment cannot connect to internet, so I will not be able to test this with this condition. So let's make it as if the sender is Yusuf, which is our test user. So any email which is sent by Yusuf will have this particular disclaimer. So let's go back to Yusuf's mailbox here over the over and try to send email. Hit send. So as you see, we have the email now, and this is prepending the disclaimer at the top of this content, and it is also in the red color. So let's format this again and add a border here, just like we have it for outgoing email. So with all the changes made, let's click on new and select all users for testing. Again, let's call this test age, and we will again add some text. Once we have this, let's hit on send. So if we go to this email, you can see this particular disclaimer has the background color and the border, and font settings are set to bold and it is in the red color. So we can add a break or extra line here just to separate this text. So let's do that in our rules. Click save. Let's do the same on here. We will add the line break in the beginning. So this will start with the break. So let's now copy the same text and create a new email, and let's send it to all users with some testing 10, and let's remove this extra line here just to test. And if we click on send, as you know, we now have a disclaimer which is prepended with extra line here, and at the disclaimer in the bottom we have 2 lines added here. So this is how you can use the disclaimer in your environment. So if I go back to my disclaimers and set it to proper use and click on more, let's also add the recipient who is external. This will be applied only to the outgoing emails from one of our internal senders. So let's click save. So for the incoming email, so we will say sender is external. So this will be only applied to the external senders. So if I go back to Yusuf and try to send any email, I will not be receiving any of this disclaimer as he is an internal user, as you can see here. So there is no content, so it's all blank here. So that's how you can create the disclaimer on Exchange server and make use of them. I hope this video was informative. See you on the next one.